I am an amusement academic. Yes, that's a thing. I'm undertaking a PhD in virtual reality amusement, and I create virtual reality for education. But that's not the reason that I'm here. I also undertook a research degree, a research master's, traveling around the world for 3 years to try and find out why roller coasters exist. But I'm not here to talk to you about roller coasters either, and the two are actually linked. I'm here to talk to you about reality and why we spend so much time, money, and effort trying to escape it. I was an awkward child. I grew up a gay little nerd in a small town in rural Queensland in Australia. I was told by bullies that I wore my pants so high that I was at risk of getting nappy rash around my neck. I don't know why, I thought they were fine. But I know what it's like to be bullied every single day. So I became obsessed with roller coasters. I would research them, I would look them up, not on the internet, it didn't exist at that time. I would go to theme parks every chance I could. Basically, my reality sucked, so I escaped into an alternate reality. So I grew up, and to cut a long story short, I got to terms with my identity. And like I said, I undertook a research degree to go around the world and discover why roller coasters exist. A slight diversion, and a now ex-friend of mine, when he found out that the university had funded me to do this, said, well, that's everything wrong about universities nowadays. But he was the same kind of person to say, oh, boo, it's Monday, and yay, it's Friday, constantly counting down on social media the days till his holidays. So, in actual fact, he was obsessed with his leisure. We all are. And roller coasters and theme parks have actually taken a need for this leisure and this kind of amusement and excitement and thrills that we don't get in everyday life anymore, and commodified it. We don't get these thrills anymore, so they charge us for it, and we happily pay. Here's a couple of comments from the film that I created called Signature Attraction.
The challenges we face today just are not quite as risky. And they're not as immediate. I think that that's actually really important too, that the challenges that we have today are so long-term. It's, you know, if we're trying to build a successful life or have a happy life, they're very much, you know, how can we, you know, maintain our health and beauty for as long as we can? How can we create some sort of financial stability to take us into retirement? How can we, you know, build a sustainable lifestyle right now? And they're all very future-oriented, but for a majority of human history, it's all been very present-oriented, you know, just how can I make it through this day?
These days, we are very much, I think, expecting that the next thing is provided to us and that we're, you know, the most we can do is earn enough to own it. But we are no longer primarily responsible for manufacturing a lot of the things that make our lives meaningful.
So here I am on a virtual reality roller coaster. I told you there was a link. And what happens in a virtual reality roller coaster is you experience all the same dips and turns and dives of a normal roller coaster, but you're seeing something else. So it creates this, I think, a crazy hybrid experience. But it's interesting that some of the really crazed roller coaster enthusiasts are not happy with this. They poo-poo it. They say that it's not real. Well, I'd question what is real about a theme park or an amusement park. But they say that it doesn't enable them to actually experience the ride with the people that are there with them. So VR and amusement and business is absolutely taking off right now. There's no doubt about it. If I had $1 for every time I heard of revolutions in this space, I'd be a billionaire. But the reality is, there's never been a time in the VR cycle where huge companies like Sony, Microsoft, HTC, Google, Samsung have been investing incredibly heavily, this heavily, in the hardware and also the content that powers this hardware. So again, if you don't know what virtual reality is, the simplest way to look at it as you're here, you put a headset on, and you see something else. That's the best way to describe it. Some of the wonderful things that you can experience in virtual reality. You could be at a dentist, and instead of focusing on your root canal, you've got a headset on and you're at the beach. So it's wonderful in medicinal settings. You could be a teacher, teaching your students about Romeo and Juliet, and you could take them on a virtual tour of Verona. And also with Google Earth and a lot of apps like that one, you can travel anywhere in the world and see many incredible places of interest. These are all really good things in relation to virtual reality. But you might be amused to find out what is the most searched for term with virtual reality nowadays. Since almost the beginning of the latest round of virtual reality development, VR porn has been one of the most searched for terms. What does that say about us as a society? I've experienced VR porn. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will say that you put a headset on, you see a version of your body that you'll never have, doing a better job of it than you ever will. It's interesting to note that the Australian VR porn producer, yes, we do it down there as well, reflected on it saying it gets you closer to the real experience. What does that mean? Humans are herd animals. To have connectivity with other humans is absolutely critical. I was listening to a Radio National Australia podcast and it broke my heart. There was a young man who was disabled. I'm sure it's the same over here, that unfortunately some young people who become disabled get put into nursing homes and they're kind of forgotten. This charming, erudite young man who was giving the interview was almost desperately grateful for the lady reporter that he was talking to, just to have a human connection with somebody. A social worker that works at one of the universities that I'm at told me that some of her spinal injury patients cry when they're washed in the shower because it's the only time they get that form of physical contact. There's the hikikomori, the Japanese youngsters. There's over 500,000 of them, these young people that never leave the house. They just communicate online all the time. And there's people walkers in Los Angeles. There's a man making a very good living, charging $7 a mile to walk with people that have no one else to walk with. These things make me incredibly sad because while we're looking at this exciting technology, it threatens to separate us. And it's clear that as humans, we have a critical need for human connection. And if you don't think that this technology has the power to separate us, then have a little think about the last time you were in a bus or a train or in any public place. What was everybody doing? A recent Pew report found that over 50% of Americans literally couldn't live without their phones. Social media, I think, is a form of virtual reality. It is certainly a form of constructed reality. Because I can assure you that the fabulous and highly curated lives that we present of ourselves online do not mirror our real lives. Was that holiday that you went on that you posted all the pics of, was it really that good all the way through? Was that wonderful dish that you posted on that you made for lunch really the first time you made it? There was a wonderful test, a social media test that I heard, where you look at all the friends, your online friends, and you ask yourself, who out of those people can you borrow 20 bucks from right now? If it's not virtually everyone on your friends list, you may wish to reconsider your online friendships. I need to make one thing very clear. I do all this stuff. I'm not trying to pretend that I go home and meditate for 6 hours a night. I enjoy movies. I clearly am obsessed with roller coasters in VR. I play games badly, and I even indulge in social media. But I'm really, really aware of the time and effort that I put into these things, because it sometimes seems that we spend our entire lives trying to escape from our lives. These things are the icing, not the cake. So there's one last thing I'd like to leave you with. When you find that you've checked Facebook for the 100th time that day, or you look up and you realize that it's been half a day since you started that computer game, or if you realize that every single holiday, every bit of time off, you spend at theme parks like I did, just ask yourself, when you're diverting yourself with these amusements, what is it you are really trying to escape? Thank you very much.